Welcome to the Central News Election Explainer about climate change, helping you understand the energy and environment policies of the three major parties, the Coalition, the Labour Party and the Greens. Climate change and energy policy is super contentious within the Coalition. The National Energy Guarantee, known as the NEG, was one of the contributing factors which led to the leadership spill against Malcolm Turnbull in August last year. The NEG was basically an attempt to formulate a national energy policy that could bring electricity prices down, help Australia reduce its emissions, and bring renewables into the energy sector while still relying upon coal. After Scott Morrison became Prime Minister, he dropped the NEG policy and proposed a $2 billion Climate Solutions Fund to help reduce emissions, with funding to be rolled out over the next 15 years. It has been shown to the public as a practical, solutions-based approach to climate change. Morrison also supports the expansion of the Snowy Hydro scheme and has promised $1.38 billion, meaning that the scheme could potentially power 500,000 homes in peak periods. Additionally, the government says that $15 billion will be invested in renewable energy projects over the next 3 years. While facing pressure from the Nationals, Morrison has also indicated that the government will provide taxpayer funds for a coal project in New South Wales and will also consider if a new high-efficiency, low-emissions coal plant is required in northern Queensland. Previously, the Energy Minister Angus Taylor has stated that the government would never adopt an emissions reduction target of 45%. Instead, the government has committed to a more modest target of 26 to 28% before 2030. So far, the Coalition's energy policy places more emphasis on reducing electricity bills than attempting to reach climate change targets. The Coalition is still struggling to resolve the conflict within the party between MPs who refuse to support policies that contain serious attempts at emissions reduction and MPs who worry that the party's inaction on climate change will cost them at the voting booth. Labour is proposing to partially continue under the same policy framework established by the Coalition during their last term. In terms of emission targets, the ALP is a little more ambitious than the Coalition. They have committed to a 45% emissions reduction target and a 50% renewable energy target by 2030, but the Coalition has criticised this for being impossible and irresponsible. They also intend to revive a version of the Coalition's dumped NEG policy. Labour is setting targets for electric vehicles, which has caused a lot of contention between the parties. It wants half of cars bought in 2030 to be electric, and will allow businesses to claim deductions if they buy electric cars. Shorten has also committed extra funding for the Clean Energy Finance Corporation, with a grant of $10 billion. Labour has also promised billions of taxpayer dollars for solar, wind and hydro projects, with a big focus on getting businesses and households to invest in solar panels and solar energy. To help lower-income households adopt solar, Labour is promising $100 million in solar installation support. The Labour Party is generally planning to expand on already established coalition policies rather than introduce brand new legislation or something like a carbon tax straight away. However, they are proposing more urgent and ambitious action towards climate change than the current government. The Greens have the most ambitious and environmentally friendly climate change policy of all three major parties. They are calling for zero greenhouse gas emissions by no later than 2040, compared to the 26 to 28% reduction set by the Coalition and a 45% reduction set by Labour. They are also aiming for 100% renewable energy as soon as possible, with a goal for 90% by 2030. They are also strongly opposed to the Adani coal mine in Queensland. The Greens are pledging to get rid of coal by proposing a carbon price, calling for the shutdown of coal-fired power stations, and have nominated 2030 as the cut-off point for thermal coal exportation. The party would also invest $2 billion in a nature fund that would manage and protect native animals and plants. If the Greens secure new seats in the House of Representatives, then they can use their influence to call for more ambitious emissions targets and push for legislation that could seriously tackle climate change. Even if they maintain their current numbers in the Senate, the Greens will be important players in the legislative process post-election. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out for more explainers on the Central News website where we break down the major policies of the 2019 election.